We've learnt this week Germany's long been held up by the likes of these individuals, these renewables luvvies. They say Germany's the world's great wind and solar capital. Well, as we speak, millions of solar panels are blanketed in snow, Rita, and 30,000 wind turbines are sitting idle because there's no wind. And freezing Germans are shivering in their lederhosen, desperate for coal-fired power to heat up their wurst and sauerkraut, James.
I don't know that I can top that, but that's that imagery of the lederhosen and sauerkraut. But no, that's right. I think what Rita says is also correct here, which is that this creates a lot more problems for all of these people that they're endorsing, I think, than they solve.
Yeah, and Rita, down in Victoria, Exxon have shut their Altona plant, so more, great work there. Sorry, it's in New South Wales. Great work there. It is in Victoria. Rita, tell us about it.
Victoria is fairly hostile to pretty much any industry that provides cheap renewable sources of energy, or any sort of industry that employs people and creates some sort of economic activity. And this is just another nail in the coffin there for the Altona fuel refinery. It really has left so many workers devastated, and it's not easy for people who've worked for years, perhaps their entire lives in those roles, to find a job, particularly a job that pays as well and gives them the sort of security they've enjoyed up until now.
And James, similarly in New South Wales, isn't there a coal place that's not going ahead now because of basically New South Wales libs?
Yeah, there's been another there was another coal mine expansion that was supposed to go ahead, and it got knocked back because, oddly enough, they said, well, they'd already approved some other coal mine earlier, so why do they need to do a second one? But all of these things, you want to talk about national security. This Altona issue is a huge issue for national security because that really increases our fuel insecurity, which we know is terrible already. People like Senator Jim Molan have been very, very strong on this issue in the past. But if we don't have the capacity to get fuel out of the ground, and, we had this whole knocking back also of offshore drilling, if we don't have the capacity to refine fuel and create fuel, we are going to be in a really, really vulnerable position. You want to talk national security, that is where I think the main game has to be.
And Rita, at the same time, we have the ANZ Bank refusing to finance any kind of... I actually think this is treacherous. I mean, that's my opinion. But we got a letter from Jennifer who says, "Dear outsiders, the ANZ Bank, which enjoys guaranteed protection by our federal government, is now actively working against Australia's economic prosperity." Jennifer writes, "They have decided they will not fund anything connected to coal, our second biggest export, bringing in somewhere around $67 billion per annum." Jennifer writes, "To take up the extreme climate alarmism mantra is atrocious." She says she is absolutely livid, and she's suggested that to them, among other things, that the board all resign. Rita.
Well, I think consumers have to make decisions based on their feelings about these bits of activism, because this is activism. This isn't a business decision, it doesn't look like to me. And if ANZ wants to play those so-called moral games, let's have a look at how the business dealings they have with China and the China's communist regime-backed businesses. They've got quite a presence in China, and does that mean they endorse what's happening there, whether we're talking about the ethnic genocide of the Uyghurs, about political dissidents being locked up, sometimes killed, women being forced into abortions and sterilisations? We know about China's gross human rights abuses. Is ANZ going to be questioned about its dealings with China and whether it's going to withdraw from China? It seems just very selective in the way they have applied this, these decisions, decisions that hurt Australia and make us a little bit weaker.
It's moral narcissism, as we'll be talking to Roger Simon shortly.